Can this 15-year-old 217,000 mile Golf estate bought for £1 be better on fuel than this 6 months old 6,000 mile £25,000 Leon estate? Hello guys, and welcome to this Volks Wizard video. And firstly, I'd like to say a big thank you to everybody who's watched, liked, shared and commented on last week's video about how I bought this Golf estate for just £1. It's done really well, which is particularly surprising considering the modest nature of the subject matter. And this car's going to be in today's video, because if you watch that video, you'll know I said I suspected it might actually be better on fuel than my daily driver Leon. And today we're going to find out if those suspicions have got any foundation by performing an MPG test on the roads around here. Can this 15-year-old 217,000 mile Golf estate bought for £1 be better on fuel than this 6 months old 6,000 mile £25,000 Leon estate with one of the most advanced diesel engines in the Volkswagen group under its bonnet? Well, there's only one way to find out, but before we do that, I want to tell you how it's going to work. Okay, firstly, let's answer the question why. Why is it worth comparing these two quite different cars? Well, yes, on the face of it, they are different, but if you look a bit more closely, you'll see they've actually got a lot in common. They're both from the Volkswagen group, they're both Golf-based estate cars, and they've both got 4-cylinder turbocharged diesel engines. So I thought it might be interesting just to see how things have progressed, or maybe not progressed, in the 15 years that divide them. Yes, the Golf is quite a lot dirtier than the Leon. It's Euro 3 emissions compliance, that's Euro 6 with AdBlue, probably the cleanest diesel you can get. But let's put that to one side for the moment, because there are still lots of people who don't drive in urban areas who really aren't that bothered how clean their diesel is. I mean, if you're driving on the motorway all the time, why have a car with a particulate trap and all that complication? Because that's where particulate traps empty all their particulates. So yeah, for a lot of people it won't make any difference, and I don't mean that because they don't care about the environment. They're actually not driving in town centres. Now, I know the Leon is a faster car. It does 0 to 60 in 8 seconds or 8 point something. The Golf does it in 12, but for the benefit of this test, we're not going to be using the performance of the cars. We'll probably use 80 horsepower, which they can both do quite comfortably. These are diesel cars. Even the Leon is, even though it looks a bit sporty, and for owners, including me, I want ultimate economy. I don't think I've ever done 0 to 60 flat out in this car, but I have kept a good eye on economy because I do so many miles. So yeah, I think it shouldn't really affect things too much. To keep things on an even footing as much as possible, I've checked the tyre pressures on both cars. Pretty simple process on the Golf. On the Leon, it's a bit more complicated because it's actually got 3 settings. It's got one for when you've got stuff in the boot, like every other car, but it's actually got 2 normal settings. Can you see? 35 front and rear, or 39 front and rear. And I saw that first on the Up GTI, and I can only conclude it's to help with the WLTP emissions test, which, unlike the old test, is done on the road. So the car's rigged up with emissions test equipment and they go and drive it on a set test route, and therefore tyre pressures will have a big difference as opposed to when this car was tested and it was in a lab. So what they've done, they've obviously decided to go as high as they can with a normal, what they call a normal setting, just to get efficiency, because it puts less tyre on the road. So you can imagine the conversation between the engineers and the emissions people. Yeah, the engineers say 35 psi is the optimum. The emissions people say, well, how high can you go without people crashing off at the first corner? So they settle on 39. But to tell you how weirdly high that is, to go to the fully laden setting, you only add 2 psi at the back. The other slight complication is that we've got the roof bars on the Golf estate, which will add a bit of drag, but we're not going to be doing much high-speed driving, so it shouldn't make too much of a difference. I can't take them off because I haven't got the keys, unfortunately. But maybe that will help level the playing field a bit, because this is a superficially sporty Leon, so it's got the same size tyres as a Golf R, 225 40 18, while these are just 195, so we've got a lot more tyre on the road there, creating drag. Right, without any further ado, I can't wait to see how this works out. I've got no agenda on this, I'm just curious. Hopefully you are too. So yeah, without any further ado, let's get testing the MPG on these two diesel estate cars. Okay, I thought we'd start in the Leon TDI because this is the benchmark. Can we beat this in the Golf estate is the question. Now, to keep the playing field as level as possible, we're in normal mode. There will be no eco mode cheating, and I'm going to turn the air conditioning off as soon as we get started. I've had to leave it on because the GoPro keeps overheating. It's a bit of a nightmare, but it's 23.5 degrees out there, so yeah, I can't really blame it. Last time that happened, I was going up the Stelvio Pass. Okay, so we'll reset the trip. We've got a GoPro recording down here, and we can overlay it all, so you can see we're going to drive the same routes at the same speeds. Hopefully we won't encounter too much traffic that could affect the readings. Really, it's only going to be a tractor or something like that that could affect it, and then we'll just have to redo it again, I think. So let's turn the aircon off, regrettably now, and reset the trip and get going. So we're going to drive pretty gently in both cars. So let's get this up to, say, 50 miles an hour. We're going to drive this all the way back to the dual carriageway, apart from a bit of 30. So nice and steady, using minimal horsepower. And both cars have actually got cruise, which is quite handy. So let's pop the cruise on now. Actually can't see if it's working. Yep, so that's set to 50. Okay, into a 30 now. Now this is an automatic gearbox, but they shift up as quickly as possible, and we'll just repeat that in the Golf, even though it's manual. Okay, we haven't got 6th gear, but 5th gear might be the same sort of ratio anyway, because this car's actually got 7th anyway. Out of the 30 now, gently up to 50, so 34, 35, 40. Just as we go down the brow, we're going to go to 50 with the cruise. That's 50. So we're showing 43.6 right now, which, yeah, it's kind of a hilly route. We've been climbing all the way from where we started, so it's not too terrible, but is it good enough? Who knows? Let's find out. So we're going to join the dual carriageway. We'll start slowing down for that, I think, because there's a van ahead. So we're not coasting because we're not in eco mode, we're just on the overrun. So the gear's selected, but there's no throttle being applied. Okay. There's no traffic to get on the dual carriageway, so we'll keep it steady. We're going to slow down again for the roundabout shortly, so let's just go up to 50. And then let's drop down to about 30 for this. So we've got to stop. So we'll try and stop in the Golf at the roundabout and then keep the speed up. Nice, 20 slow acceleration to 30 as we come off. And then this is a 70 mile an hour bit of road. So we do want to get some speed up so we can test that. So let's get the 55. I'm just tickling the throttle really. It may not be so easy to accelerate in the Golf. Okay, cruise on. Okay, 70 miles an hour now. Okay, so we're going to terminate the test at the roundabout here, which is basically where Birmingham starts, because after that the traffic will become too much of a variable. I'm going to click the cruise off now at the reduced speed sign here and let the car not coast, but it's on the overrun up to the roundabout. When we come to a stop, that's the end of the test. I'm going to brake as the anti-skid surface starts and move over to the right hand lane. Amazingly, there's no traffic around. And what's our reading? 46.9. Now let's go and try the Golf. Okay guys, here we are behind the wheel of the Golf TDI estate. So it's all to play for at the moment. We need to beat 46.9 miles per gallon on our prescribed test route. So let's get going. The aircon's off because it doesn't work, and I'm just about to reset the trip to 0, and we're good to go. So we're going to do 50 on this road. So let's gently get it up to speed. We're going to drive it like a DSG, even though it's a manual, which means changing up as early as possible. So into 5th, just under 40 miles an hour, and then set the cruise as we get up to 50. So 40, 45, 50, and sit back and relax. So yeah, it's a surprisingly pleasant car to drive this. Okay, it does wallow a bit compared to the Leon, which is quite hard, but it's very refined. I think probably because it runs quite skinny tyres. But bends like this at 50 do feel surprisingly hairy actually. Okay, so we're just approaching the 30 mile an hour zone, so I'll get my finger ready to cancel the cruise. Here. And then we kind of ran into the 30 a little bit, so we'll just start to slow down now. And then I think 4th at first. Stick to 30. Okay, so we're just approaching the de-restricted section, which is I think 60 miles an hour here, so let's gradually get up to 50. 60 is a bit too much for this twisty road. So 45, and then into 5th, and press set. That's cruise, doing its thing. Just like in the Leon, I'm going to click cancel on the cruise now, and we're going to freewheel, well not freewheel, we're going to run on the overrun, so we're in gear, approaching the dual carriageway, which we had a real clear approach to. So we're on 48, which is good, but we've got a hill to come yet, so let's see what the traffic does. We'll let you out usually. Yeah. Okay, no point going too fast at this point because we've got the roundabout ahead, which we had to stop at last time. Okay, so we stopped, and then let's gradually get up to speed now, so we can do 70 now. So 43.3, about a mile or two to go now. Can it pull it back? So as before, I'm going to click the cruise off at the reduced speed marker and then brake at the anti-skid surface. It's a bit busier this time, but it should be all right. Pretty close, 44.4. Okay, reduce speed marker now, change lanes. That's unbelievable. 46.7. That's surprisingly close, don't you think? Okay, the modern car won, which isn't actually what I expected. I think allowing for tolerances, we probably ought to call that a bit of a draw, which honestly, I had no idea. I've never done this stupid kind of test before. Anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed this Volks Wizard video. As ever, if you have, please give it a thumbs up, please comment, please share, and please do subscribe. They're going up a lot at the moment, but every little helps. So if you haven't subscribed then and you've enjoyed today's video, then please do, and I'll see you for the next one soon.